I'm Esther McVeigh.
And I'm Philip Davis.
Whether you're watching or listening on TV, online or on radio, we handpick the latest stories, debates and expert opinions for your weekend. So whether that's politics, news or showbiz, we've got it covered.
Join us every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock on GB News.
Hello, I'm Michelle Dewberry and you can join me every weekday 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr. Me and my panel will get stuck right into the day's events and I can tell you, in fact, I can warn you, expect some robust debates, some strong opinions and perspectives from both sides of the fence. It's about you at home as well. I love to read out all of your comments, or at least as many as I can. So join me, Michelle Dewberry, Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr.
I'm Mark Dolan. Join me at 11 on GB News for Headliners, in which I'll be joined by two of the UK's top comedians discussing tomorrow's papers. If it's an important story, we'll cover it, but we'll have some fun along the way. Headliners, the late night paper review that won't send you to sleep like the others will. 7 nights a week at 11 p.m. on GB News.
Monday to Thursday on GB News, it's Bev Turner Today from 10 a.m. We're going to be here for you, our GB News family, to keep you up to date, but also make you smile.
The guy went from puberty to adultery.
And I can't wait to bring a few of my own opinions.
I have no time for cultural totalitarianism.
We'll engage in passionate, but always polite debate, with your thoughts and opinions at the centre of it all. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Mark White. As GB News Home and Security Editor, I cover those key issues that are so important to you. Our authorities, our communities doing all they can to combat violent crime. With the public services under unbearable strain, why are we still failing to control our borders? Defence, the first priority of any government, has been continually hollowed out. Can we trust our politicians to protect the armed forces? Join me, Mark White, on GB News.
Happy New Year! Good morning and welcome to GB News. You are watching Common Sense Crusade with me, the Reverend Calvin Robinson, on your TV, radio and online. This show is about championing common sense, and today we will be discussing the death of the former Pope Benedict and the legacy he leaves, the New Year's Feast of Mary, the Holy Mother of God, and the Anglican Church in Ukraine that's recruiting British clergy to kickstart services amid the war. We'll also be analysing the insanity of fighting over a bottled drink made by YouTube stars, the arrest of Andrew Tate, and the effective ban of transgender athletes in British triathlons. First, here's the news headlines with Bethany Elsey.
Calvin, thank you. Good morning and a very happy new year to you. It's 1 minute past 10. I'm Bethany Elsey in the GB newsroom. The UK has ushered in 2023 with celebrations taking place across the nation and a crowd of more than 100,000 gathering in central London to watch the New Year firework display. London's mayor says the 12-minute display, which is the first since the start of the pandemic, is the biggest in Europe. The sold-out show featured a tribute to the late Queen Elizabeth, highlighted the Lioness's Euros win and sent a message of support for Ukraine. Despite the rain, there were similar scenes in Edinburgh as revellers packed the streets to enjoy the first full Hogmanay celebrations in 3 years. And in Yorkshire, Scarborough Council were forced to cancel last night's New Year Eve celebrations thanks to an unexpected visitor, an Arctic walrus. It's thought to be the first time one has been spotted in the county. He's since moved on in his travels, but experts say he was likely just taking a break before a long journey north. In his New Year message to Ukraine, President Volodymyr Zelensky says he hopes the war with Russia will end this year. He spoke as missiles rained down in and around the capital, Kyiv. Ukraine's armed forces says Russia has launched more than 31 missiles and 12 airstrikes at targets across the country overnight. Curfews ranging from 7 p.m. to midnight made celebrations for the start of 2023 impossible in public spaces. President Zelensky vowed to continue his country's fight until victory.
Let this year be the year of return, the return of our people, warriors to their families, captives to their homes, return of our lands. The temporarily occupied ones will become free forever. Return to normal life, to happy moments without curfew, to earthly joys without air raids. Return of what was stolen from us, the childhood of our children, the peaceful age of our parents.
The Archbishop of Canterbury is urging the government to tackle what he calls the country's broken social care system. Justin Welby will use his New Year message to say care homes are struggling to cover energy bills and retain staff. He's called on everyone to rise to the challenge of repairing the present system. The government says social care was made a priority in last month's autumn budget, pledging £7.5 billion in support over the next 2 years. 2 men have been charged with the murder of a non-league footballer who was stabbed to death in Birmingham on Boxing Day. 23-year-old Cody Fisher was attacked at a nightclub in Digbeth. 21-year-old Carmi Carpenter and 22-year-old Remy Gordon will appear before magistrates on Monday. And from today, more than 4,600 bus routes across England will have fares capped at £2 for a single trip. More than 130 operators outside of London have joined the scheme, which lasts until the end of March. The cap is being paid by a £60 million fund from the government. And more than 66,000 properties in Scotland are empty. That's according to council figures, with the vast majority being domestic. Data also shows that over 9,000 properties are unoccupied in Edinburgh alone. You're up to date on GB News. We'll bring you more news as it happens. Now let's get back to Calvin.
Hello and welcome to the Common Sense Crusade with me, the Reverend Calvin Robinson, on this New Year's Day. Here's what's coming up this morning. The UK has welcomed in the new year with a fireworks display in London that included a fitting tribute to the late Queen, along with a few overtly political propaganda pieces, including the Ukraine war, the so-called climate emergency, and of course the LGBTQ+++++ lobby. Nothing is safe from politicization these days, it seems. Internet phenomenon Andrew Tate's questionable lifestyle is halted after his arrest in Romania. I'll speak to the man who thinks he's a spiritual desert and asks whether trial by social media is wrong no matter the target. And are these godless scenes of shoppers fighting in supermarkets over a drink made by YouTube stars proof that we must do better in 2023? Let me know your thoughts about these topics and more by emailing gbviews@gbnews.uk or by tweeting me at gbnews. Deus Volt. Happy 8th day of Christmas and Happy New Year. A new year gives us an opportunity to refresh, to look at things anew. And boy, does it feel like we need it right now. It feels to me like nothing has been the same since Brexit. The political elite, in my opinion, have torn this country apart in a way that, in over half a decade, has still not fully healed. My view is that the political elite continued to tear at the seams of society in their responses to COVID, destroying trust in experts and science, undermining democracy, and stomping all over our civil liberties. Then, of course, there's the woke movement. I think the virtue-signalling hard left has been using every tool in the Marxist handbook to undermine the Western way of life. They seem to have tipped our values upside down. Good is bad, right is wrong, and men are women. Everything feels topsy-turvy, but there is always hope. There is nothing new under the sun, and this was foretold in Scripture. The prophet Isaiah said, "Woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, that put darkness for light and light for darkness, that put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. I don't think it will end well for those who want to convince us that lies are true or that we own our own individual truths, because there is an objective truth. For me, there is a universal truth. Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the life. And in the month of January, we celebrate his holy name. So in 2023, I hope you'll join me in continuing to fight the good fight. We do not need a great reset, but an internal reset would not go amiss right now. In 2023, let's aim to turn the silent majority into a vocal and active majority. Let's drown out the tinny racket of the subversive, transgressive hard left, who I believe would undo our very way of life. Let's stand up for the things that we believe in with a renewed gusto. After all, we know that good wins out in the end. The UK has welcomed the new year with an interesting fireworks display in London. The show comprised of 12,000 fireworks, including a very fitting tribute to the late Queen, and unfortunately a number of highly politicised issues ranging from climate change to LGBT issues. Our national reporter Theo Chikomba has been speaking to people about what they thought of 2022 and their hopes for the new year.
Celebrating the new year in style, thousands made their way into central London to catch a glimpse of this display, which returned after 2 years off. They joined many who'd made the trip from all corners of the UK and the world. Holiday seasons often give families the chance to recuperate and enjoy quality time like this. 2022 was a mixed bag for millions across the country. Some found new opportunities and others went through challenging times.
You know, 2022 has been tough for a lot of people, and you know, for me, I think it was, you know, the same struggles as everybody, but to persevere and to be able to come to this amazing city to see the New Year's Eve fireworks tonight and the ability to travel again and to see the world and meet new people, and looking forward to more of that in 2023.
As a country, we've celebrated together and we've also mourned as a nation. With a new year, it creates an opportunity to take on new challenges, but also to live a new chapter.
Yeah, making more memories. Yeah, having a smile on our face, I think.
Yeah, that's most of it. We're all smiling, we're all happy.
Yeah.
Jerks, there's a jerks, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, got to be happy. Smiling, contagious.
Yeah.
I'm from Canada, Vancouver. I used to live in South Africa, and now I'm celebrating New Year and Christmas in London.
In the new year, we're looking forward to more love spread in the world, and peace, and travel, and great landmarks.
Already, some have started the year as they mean to go on, and for others, it's a journey that begins today in what could be an exciting year. Theo Chikomba, GB News.
Now I'm joined by political commentator Dominic Samuels and author and writer and journalist Rebecca Reid. Thank you both very much for joining me on this New Year's Day. Dominic, how did you celebrate?
I was a grandma, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, and I was in bed very early. But I think for me, I sort of wanted to come away from just people using it as a way to just get absolutely leathered. And I wrote down some of my goals, things that I want to continue on with in 2023. And yeah, it was very wholesome.
Sounds very mature.
Yeah, for a 24-year-old, it was very mature. We'll have to see if it continues.
Rebecca, were you the wild one?
I mean, I did get very drunk. But my skill now is, because I have a baby, I get very drunk in the hour that I know she'll be asleep, so that I'm sober for when she starts waking up again.
Does that work?
Yeah, it's perfect. It's fantastic parenting. But actually, it was very sweet because the fireworks woke her up. So I went upstairs and as midnight was coming, I was sitting in her bedroom with her watching the fireworks, which she loved, which is about as good as you can get, really.
Yeah, and do you have any resolutions?
So I'm going to try and do the Scandinavian thing where you try and spend an hour with your child outside every day, because I think fresh air is very good for kids, and also that's good because it's kind of leaving the house. And also I'm going to try to spend less time on my phone, because I feel like no good is coming of me being on Twitter, getting angry about things, starting arguments with strangers.
No, I'm with you on that. Any resolutions, Dominic?
I think for me recently, I'm starting to get more into like spirituality. So I'm going to try and meditate more. change some of my habits. I do want to be out in nature a lot more as well, doing some grounding and things like that. So I think for me, it's just about exploring sort of inward in order to be able to do my job better.
Can we talk about the thing?
What thing?
Where you discovered your inward spirituality? Or is that...
Right, well, I can't say too much about it.
But you've been on a journey.
But yeah, I've been on a journey in the Netherlands, and it involves some very interesting things, which you guys will hear about soon.
Oh, I can't wait.
I can't wait. I'm so excited.
Rebecca,
I feel mean that we're teasing everybody at home with it, but when you find out, it's going to blow your mind.
Did you make it to Mass?
I went to Christingle, which I have found that giving a baby a lit candle is not the best idea. And I went to midnight Mass, but where I live, midnight Mass happens at 8:30 because everyone's quite old. Midnight's quite late.
Yeah. Very good. Well, Catholics across the UK will pray for the former Pope Benedict at Mass today after his death, aged 95. Ailing health saw him become the first leader of the Catholic Church to stand down in 600 years in 2013, after serving just under 8 years at the Vatican. King Charles expressed his, quote, deep sadness at Benedict's death yesterday in a message to his successor, Pope Francis. As the Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, also paid tribute. Joining me now is Brendan Alejandro Thompson, CEO of Catholic Voices. Thank you for joining me today on New Year's Day. Brendan, what legacy does the Pope leave behind?
So, Pope Benedict XVI, born Joseph Aloysius Ratzinger, he leaves a great spiritual, a great theological, a great legacy as a teacher. So he was a university professor, as head of the Congregation for the Doctrine of Faith, the teaching arm of the Catholic Church, and then as Pope, he's been one of the principal leaders of the Catholic Church for the whole of my life, for a generation, for the last century, involved in many of the biggest political and religious turns in the last century. So as an author of 66 books, a speaker of 8 languages, not only will he be missed as a titan theological figure, but also as a simple Christian, a man of great humility, who knew what it took to live an ordinary Christian life of love and teach others how to do it.
He was a titan theological figure. He's also considered by many to be protector of tradition and conservative Catholicism. Do you think that is at risk now that he has passed away?
Yes, in many ways, different popes have different pastoral and spiritual priorities. I don't think Pope Benedict is going to be remembered as a great manager or as a great kind of media personality, but definitely as a teacher and writer. And Pope Francis was the first in his Wednesday audience last week to invite prayers for his successor. He's spoken of Benedict as a grandfatherly figure. And in a sense, he'll be leading the world in prayers, in asking everyone for what Pope Benedict needs now on this part of his Christian journey. So I think in many ways that they were close, but with different spiritual priorities.
Absolutely, but what I'm getting to here is that the traditional side of the Catholic faith tends to feel like it's becoming more liberal, more progressive, and while Pope Benedict XVI was around, at least there was a claim to holding back the tide. Is the tide going to be released now? Is the Church going in a different direction?
Yeah, sure. I've heard some analysis say that now Pope Benedict has died, it's likely that, everything, as if Benedict was holding Francis back somehow. I mean, he's been Pope for 7 or 8 years. So there's clearly not the emphasis like the releasing of restrictions on the traditional Latin Mass. There's been changes that Pope Francis has done that maybe his predecessor wouldn't have done. There's different spiritual things. But I think, to be honest, Pope Francis is getting old and he's in frail health as well. Part of his theological vision as well is trying to build on from, and he's often spoken about building on from what Benedict has done. So I don't see any huge changes that are going to happen now that haven't already happened.
Brendan, what will the services and ceremonies be like this week, over the next week or so, up until January the 5th, when the funeral takes place?
So we've been told by the Vatican that tomorrow, on Monday morning, that Pope Benedict's body will be in St. Peter's, ready for people to go and visit, to make visit. Many people have already booked flights and made travel arrangements to go to Rome. And then his funeral, which will be held and led by Pope Francis at St. Peter's Basilica, will be happening on Thursday. So the faithful universal are asked, all people of goodwill are asked to pray for the repose of his soul. I really encourage you to pick up a book of Benedict's. Most people's lives are changed when they do that. They go from having an image of, God's Rottweiler to the German Shepherd. That's certainly the experience of people who, when he came to to the UK in 2010, many people saw, not a kind of scary conservative, but actually they saw someone of deep intellectual vigour and also of great humility.
Yeah, there's nothing scary about conservatives, but I'm absolutely with you on reading his literature. I think Jesus of Nazareth, his book is fantastic. Thank you very much for that analysis, Brendan Alejandro Thompson, CEO at Catholic Voices. Plenty more to come this morning. What's the best way to start the new year? What are some of your tips to start the new year off? Let us know, gbviews@gbnews.uk or tweet us @gbnews. Some of you might be nursing sore heads this morning, but what's the best way to cure a New Year's hangover? First, let's take a look at the weather.
Looking ahead to today's weather, and the UK is looking cold, with rain and hill snow over Scotland, showers and bright spells elsewhere. Here are the details. It'll be a mild and rather cloudy start to New Year's Day across southwest England. There'll be some bright spells, but also some scattered, locally heavy, gusty showers. There'll be rather cloudy conditions across southeast England to start the new year. Some brighter spells are likely, with the odd shower too. Bright or sunny spells will edge in from the west, although still rather cloudy in the east, locally heavy, blustery showers in the west too. It'll be a rather cloudy and windy start to the new year across the Midlands. An isolated heavy shower is possible in the west, a mild day for all with limited sunshine. Showery rain will continue to slowly clear from the north, drier further south, with some bright or sunny spells at times, mild for the time of year, but with a brisk southwesterly breeze. Patchy rain and hill snow will continue to gradually clear to the east, but it will remain mostly cloudy with hill fog linger in places, feeling chilly once again. It'll be a mostly cloudy day to start the new year across Northern Ireland. There will also be some patchy, mostly light rain at times, feeling chilly once again. Showers wintry in the north with bright or sunny spells for most, further cloud and rain in the southeast. And that's your weather today on New Year's Day.
I'm Camilla Tominey. Join me on GB News on Sunday mornings for a politics show with personality on TV, radio and online. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Join me, Dan Wootton. I'll bring you the sharpest takes and hottest debates. Do you not believe in prisons?
I don't believe in prisons.
I'm completely stunned. I guarantee you there'll be no spin, no bias, no censorship.
I actually was personally quite offended by it.
And no reason to go to bed.
So I guess they've always been quite woke.
That's Dan Wootton tonight on TV, radio and online. Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
The national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. for Gloria Meets. In exclusive interviews, I'll be finding out who our politicians really are and what they really think.
It's something that you would never want anyone to suffer.
I didn't know what channels there were. I didn't think I'd be believed.
I must have weighed about 7 stone and I'm 5'8".
My instinct was to sort of cover this up. I mean, clearly that was a mistake.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello there, it's Eamon Holmes here from Breakfast on GB News. We're not just on your television and your screens, you know.
We're on DAB plus digital radio, so you can listen to your favourite shows on the move.
If you've not yet listened to GB News Radio, it's very simple. We're on your radio player and tune-in apps, on your smart speaker, phone or tablet, or online at gbnews.uk.
Take us with you wherever you go. GB News Radio.
You never have to miss a moment of the People's Channel.
My name's Tom Harwood and join me 9:30 a.m. every weekday for The Briefing, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about what's going on in politics today.
I wonder if this is a deal that might need to be like the biscuits in this factory, twice baked.
Is there not an opportunity here to win out against the extremes?
Tom Harwood, GB News.
What are you going to do about it?
things should have been done differently, and they certainly are being done differently.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, 9:30 Monday to Friday on GB News.
Hello, I'm Simon Evans. Join me on GB News for Headliners at 11 p.m, where I'll be joined by two of the country's top comedians as we take a look at tomorrow's newspapers tonight. If it's a big story, we'll be covering it, I guarantee, but we'll also have some fun along the way. That's GB News Headliners at 11 p.m. We won't put you to sleep, unlike some of the other paper review shows out there. So join us, 11 p.m, 7 nights a week.
Welcome back to the Common Sense Crusade on GB News, on TV, online and on your wireless. Some of you might be nursing sore heads this morning, but what's the best way to cure a New Year's hangover? Our man in the Southwest, Jeff Moody, has it on good authority that a fry-up is the only remedy. Jeff, are there lots of punters staring into their baked beans today?
Actually, there's not. It's quite quiet so far, but I've managed to order myself a few hangover cures here. I've got the full English, or of course it could be the Ulster fry, or the full Welsh breakfast, or the full Scottish breakfast. It's kind of the same thing. I mean, we all know a good old fry-up is the answer, and a good cup of coffee too. Also, a hair of the dog. Now, they wouldn't let me have a Bloody Mary because of licensing laws, so this is just a tomato juice for effect, I'm afraid. But hair of the dog too. But none of these, apparently, work. According to the experts, none of these cure a hangover. What you need to do for a hangover, this is so boring, Michael. Drink water, lots of water, and also complex carbohydrates. So a big plate of pasta, that's the answer. A fry-up, so they say, does nothing. But there is one of these old wives' tales that does work. Take a glass of orange juice, and into that glass of orange juice, you need to crack an egg, okay? So you crack a raw egg in there, give it a bit of a stir, and then you try it. I don't actually have a hangover, but I'll give it a go. Actually, it's all right, because I can't taste the egg. I could just taste the orange juice. So, yeah, go for that. That works. That's not as bad as I thought. Happy New Year to you, Michael.
Oh, Happy New Year, Jeff. Thank you. Right, Dominic Samuels and writer and journalist Rebecca Reed are still with me this morning. What am I doing with my life? Rebecca, would you try the egg in the orange juice?
Absolutely not, Michael. I would. The only way to get past a real hangover is a very fulsome McDonald's and it has to be a can of extremely cold Diet Coke. That is the way.
Oh, yeah, it's the Diet Coke.
Diet
Coke
is
supposed to be good for when you have a lack of hydration. So to do like electrolytes or something.
Also, rehydration sachet if you're being boring. It does work.
I use that.
Or you could just have water.
No, you need the one with the apparently junior doctors just tap themselves up to a drip, and that works an absolute treat.
Oh my gosh,
that actually sparkling water. My producer says sparkling water.
Sparkling water.
Really?
I don't know, like coffee and orange juice. That doesn't mix well with me on a hangover. Not too much info there.
I do like a fry-up, but I'm not sure any of these old wife tales actually do anything.
Rice with soy sauce apparently also very good because it's got carbs and salt. Apparently.
Soy sauce.
Yeah. I found if you drink your Grey Goose with cranberry, then you're hydrating as you're getting drunk, so it's quite.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I think we all know the only thing that really works is to start drinking again. But if that eventually you have to stop, and then it.
Hair of the dog. That just makes me want to go to sleep.
Yeah, and then you have a lovely booze nap.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
So none of it works. Just drink less and drink more water.
Yeah.
Okay.
And hydration salts and Diet Coke and have a really big lunch.
Also,
Are you a wild drunk, Dominic?
Me? Yeah. Actually, I'm like a wild and happy drunk. You know how some people are like get really angry and aggressive? That's not what happens.
No.
No, I'm really happy.
I am exactly as you would imagine. I like
Either
to...
giddy or sleepy.
Very, very hyper, like an
Yeah.
overexcited child, and also like to throw conversational grenades and just be like, don't you feel sorry for paedophiles? And then watch people have an argument.
So basically like your Tuesday panel. On
Yeah,
Time
exactly, like Tuesday with Dan Washington, but actually, it's not like I haven't done that, having had a glass of wine. But yeah, no, I'm badly behaved, but really fun, charming.
Yeah, it's nice though.
What do you like, Garvin?
Yeah, Calvin.
I think I'm quite childish when I'm drunk, actually.
Really?
Childish? What do you mean?
Yeah, because I like to think I'm quite sensible and moderated.
The real you.
But when I'm drunk, I'm like, just, yeah, whatever.
Do you have a drink and tweet?
Let us know what you guys are like if you can be bothered. Tweet GB News. You are with GB News on TV, online and radio. And up next, I'll be discussing the chaos that unfolded at Aldi supermarket as shoppers went rampant for YouTuber energy drink Prime. NPCs everywhere, honestly.
We are GB News, and we'd like to say thank you to each and every one of you for bringing us your conversations, for helping our great nation find its voice. We are here for you on radio, television, and online, across England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland.
It's not the BBC, you actually get your facts right.
We are proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
Monday to Thursday on GB News, it's Bev Turner Today from 10 a.m. We're going to be here for you, our GB News family, to keep you up to date, but also make you smile.
The guy went from puberty to adultery.
And I can't wait to bring a few of my own opinions.
I have no time for cultural totalitarianism.
We'll engage in passionate, but always polite debate, with your thoughts and opinions at the centre of it all. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akue, Saturday and Sunday afternoons on GB News. Expect fiery debate and passionate discussion as me and my panel tackle some of the biggest topics hitting the headlines. It's a place for everyone's opinion. No one gets cancelled, but no one gets an easy ride.
Oh, she's on it today!
Be ready for conversations that are fierce, frank, and of course, fun. Every Saturday and Sunday afternoon from 4 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. You've been cancelled. Join the club. Oh my goodness me. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
We are GB News, the People's Channel.
And right across the United Kingdom.
You can find us on Sky Channel 512.
Virgin Media Channel 604.
Freesat Channel 216.
Freeview Channel 236.
And YouView Channel 236.
You can also take us with you on DAB+ radio.
With the GB News app and at the website gbnews.uk.
We're absolutely everywhere.
Come join us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. The madness of crowds of people has been a frequent theme of the last 2 years, and this next bunch are no exception. Supermarket shoppers were seen fighting over bottles of a new energy drink developed by YouTube stars KSI and Logan Paul, as Aldi briefly stocked it on their shelves this week. It's called Prime. It's promoted as a naturally flavoured drink with coconut water, amino acids and electrolytes. And shoppers barged each other out of the way and even swiped drinks from young kids as they scrambled to fill their boots in, frankly, an embarrassing scene. I'm joined now by social commentator Leilani Dowding for her take on this. Leilani, I cannot speak today. I'm not even hungover. It's just New Year's Day. Can you please tell us what the heck is going on here?
Honestly, it's very scary, isn't it? It shows how easily society can be manipulated to follow a crowd. So these influencers told young kids that they should go out and get this energy drink and show it on their Instagrams and their social media. So that's what happens. And to me, if there was ever going to be a zombie apocalypse, it doesn't have to be a bunch of dead people. It's these people who literally look mind-controlled, as though there's been a famine and they're there to get a bag of rice. This is a $1.99 energy drink. A hydration drink. And aren't all drinks meant to hydrate you? What are they falling for? And I think there's a wider consideration here. And that's that, adults like us look at our leaders, our politicians, our policymakers, but young people are looking at pop culture, music, sport, and social media. And that's where they're seeing this influence. That's where they're seeing this social contagion that's going on in this consumerism hypnosis that they're under. And so it's very scary to me that a young population can be controlled in such a manner.
Yeah, and we've heard over the last few years about the nudge units and behavioural scientists in government. I don't even think they're necessary. I don't think we need proper scientists behind this because it's so simple. It looks to me like, you mentioned children. These aren't children, these are adults. These are sheep following a social trend. How do we break people free of this mentality?
Well, this is what's worrying. I don't know how we do, because I keep saying to myself, people are going to wake up, they're going to see what's happening. And then you see this and you're like, okay, it happened with toilet roll. It happened with petrol. People were filling plastic bags up with petrol when there was a bit of a shortage. And then you think, people are going to learn now. People are going to learn that this is a lot of this is media driven. But now we're seeing it again through social media. And I think it's really important that we understand how big social contagion is through social media. And it can be anything. These celebrities, these musicians, or these sports people, influencers, they can be influencing people to do whatever, have an obsession with the next product or the next in thought or, the next surgery or lip filler or whatever it might be. Or and it is a very dangerous trend. And I don't know how we wake people up out of it, because, you and I, we sit there and we fight for people's freedoms. And then you think, is this who we're fighting for? People that are going to go and push and shove in supermarkets because some social media influencers have told them to go and buy this drink that actually is full of rubbish, really. I mean, there's 10% coconut water in it, non-essential amino acids, and a bunch of chemicals, and they say natural flavourings, but if you look into what natural flavourings can be, they're kind of gross, really.
But it doesn't matter what's in it, does it?
It's
because of who it's who it's coming from. It's because it's from influencers. And I think you're right. There is a mass psychosis going on here, but it's spawned by influencers on social media. I was just saying to Rebecca and Dominique during the break that I think the best thing that Elon Musk could do for society would be to actually, after purchasing Twitter, just close it down.
No.
Do you tend to agree, Leilani?
Well, we have TikTok. I think a lot of these guys got huge on TikTok, and they're, telling people, encouraging them, come and show us your drinks. Now we know, if we go down that rabbit hole of TikTok being owned by China, yet the Chinese aren't allowed to use it. What is going on where we're just holding these people to such high regard that they will do anything that they tell us to do? Well, not us, but these young people, these young adults, all sorts, that they'll do literally anything that these social media personalities tell them to do. And it's scary. It really is. And like you say, NPCs, it's like they're not controlled by their own minds. They're controlled, by some programming. And, it is like a hypnosis, really.
You're right, and the scary thing about it is that these social commentators, these influencers rather, are not there on merit. They're not there because they're good at anything. They're there because they are famous for being famous. It's like the Kardashians of social media. Anyway, social commentator Leilani Dowding, thank you so much for your time today and your wonderful analysis. I'm still joined by political commentator Dominic Samuels and writer Rebecca Reed, who I think have something to say on my theory that Elon Musk should just shut down Twitter.
No,
Social
right,
media's not a
okay.
good thing for the
I think
world.
this is the thing.
What's the thing?
People are taking the negatives, and there are a lot of negatives, that being the information by massive corporations is being controlled and being censored.
Right.
And they're using that to paint social media as bad. Social media, things like Twitter, even just the internet in general, without all of the sort of big tech censorship, is the most freest and best way to get independent information that isn't at the behest of things like the BBC.
Okay.
That most of the time spew government talking points, in my view, and
But
talking
is it?
points
Because
of
we
massive
know because of the
corporations.
Twitter files that, for example, the whole Hunter Biden laptop was censored. We know that they silenced conversations about COVID coming from Wuhan, which we now know to be true.
but that's
We know
the
that they
thing.
cancelled Donald Trump. So it might be that there are more people on there and more information is available, but they censor one side of the argument.
Yeah,
all the
but
time.
that is the problem. We need to tackle the actual censorship at hand, not paint social media as a wholly bad thing. And the reason why people are being brainwashed and controlled by social media influencers who, you know, people like Crusade, they do have a talent. They have a character about them that draws people to them and makes people want to listen. That's a good thing. But the problem is that society at the moment, we do not have a sense of self. We're not sure with who we are. We're chronically insecure. People are actually looking for a sort of spiritual enlightenment in a way. That's why they look to people like Sai. That's why they look to people like Andrew Tate, for example. And that's why they look for other people to create that sense of self, which is why you're seeing scenes like that.
We'll come to Andrew Tate later.
And it ends up being turned inwards. It's about how do I present myself? How can I control the narrative around myself? There is this, the expression is main character syndrome. And there is this, we've all been positioned as characters and we're all trying to create narratives and stories around ourselves. And that was probably 'twas ever thus, but before it was like writing a letter to somebody. And now it's posting it for hundreds of thousands of people. My only real suggestion on tackling this is that I know that media studies as a school subject is a bit of a joke subject at the moment, but I think honestly media studies needs to be obligatory and people need to learn how to interpret. Like, for instance, when you look at an article online, you can see how many times at the top it's been edited and when it was last edited, understanding why that would have happened. There's so many small aspects to media, particularly journalism, that if people understood, they could better interpret what they're reading. Like you do when you do history A-level, you look at the sources, right?
But it's not just about the sources or the media, it's about us as people. You not think that social media brings out the worst in people?
I mean, I think social media is fundamentally bad, but I also think once it's existed, it can't unexist. You can't take the toy away from the child. It exists. No, but that's controlling. That's not libertarian, is it?
I'm not libertarian.
Oh, really? I thought you were.
I'm conservative.
You take away the social media, and what do you have? We're controlled by presenters on the television screen.
It was
Social
women's
media's allowed
magazines before.
alternative news platforms and alternative journalists.
It's become the new
to exist.
soapbox.
But also, we can't, I just don't believe in removing things because they're bad for you, because most of the things that make life more fun or interesting are bad for you. Very few things are good for you and enjoyable.
And you can say that GB News exists because of social media. It's seeing online that, actually, wait a minute, there are a lot of people that don't actually follow one narrative, so let's create a market for them. And here it is.
This is perhaps competition to social media. I would say GB News exists because BBC, Channel 4, ITV, Sky News all have one approved narrative, and GB News wants to offer a different perspective.
I agree, but where were the people going that would watch GB News, for example? They're online, they follow people like me, follow people like you, and then GB News was made after the facts, and finally, people have somewhere to go that have, you know, people like you or I on it. So GB News, I think, is a byproduct of social media.
I think the main issue with social media is that it doesn't reward nuance. And I find that if I tweet something that isn't in line with what my people believe, nobody responds to it, and then the algorithm learns that you're not interesting and the algorithm punishes you for that. Whereas if I say something that I know is exactly in line with what my people like, I will be rewarded for it. And I think that's one thing Twitter could stand to do a lot better. Like, even just real-time posting rather than algorithms would improve it.
Algorithms are wicked.
I agree with that.
Thank you. That was political commentator Dominic Samuels and writer Rebecca Reed. For the moment, thank you very much. Now, the new off-gem energy price cap levels come into effect today, rising to £4,279 per year. However, the government's energy price guarantee scheme means typical bills will remain at £2,500 per year on average until April 2023. But despite the scheme, research has shown that more than 3/4 of households in the UK will be pushed into fuel poverty this month. Anna Riley has the report.
Kate Johnson spends an average of £10 a day on a prepaid fuel meter, and she's one of the millions of people in Britain living in fuel poverty. The mum lives with her 2 children and partner in York. The family's only income is from Universal Credit, and they struggle to heat their home.
We've all got medical conditions. I've got fibromyalgia and arthritis, and if I don't have the heating on, it's really, really painful. At some point I can't barely walk. And then the kids have got like additional needs and stuff, so the heating is something that we definitely do need. The week before, when it was really, really cold, we put on just over £100 for the week, as it was too cold not to have it on during the day.
Despite government support, Kate's worried about rising costs of energy and fears price hikes.
They've made quite a few contributions towards the fuel bills, but say it's still a drop in the ocean, especially when you've got to have it on every day for medical reasons or controlling the mould in the house. So I still think something should be done, because at the end of the day they're just going to keep increasing it. And it'll get to the point where people have to choose whether to sit in the cold or to feed your family or pay your rent.
The community food bank down the road from Kate provides a lifeline for her family. It's run by John McGall, who feeds 100 people a day, 7 days a week, from the shed outside his house. And with the fuel bills rising, John can only see the numbers of people he helps increasing.
It used to be food or heating. Now it's rent or mortgage. We've gone even further, basically. So rent down here has gone up an average of £300 a month. So that's £300 off your shopping bill, heating, everything, your fuel for your car to go to work. So we do have a lot of people who do work, but they just don't earn enough money anymore. They're catching the tail all the time. And then if a lot of people who are in debt, they're catching up. So when we get the wage, we're paying the debt that they owe. It's just a vicious circle.
With snow set to hit the UK this month, the festivities of Christmas will feel long gone for people like Kate, who'll be wrapping up warm and worrying about paying for the heating. Anna Riley, GB News, York.
He is the most controversial figure of our times, apparently, and last year was the most Googled person on Earth. But Andrew Tate's meteoric rise to internet stardom was given a reality check after his arrest in Romania over sex trafficking and rape allegations this week. While the man is no doubt Marmite, the self-declared trillionaire playboy who alleges to teach men how to be masculine has endured trial by social media since being nabbed by Romanian cops. Regardless of political or social persuasion, is it ever right that the grand jury of Twitter delivers the iron fist of justice before our actual real-life legal processes have taken place? I am joined once again by political commentator Dominique Samuels and writer Rebecca Reed. Dominique, I won't get into my thoughts on Andrew Tate just yet.
Okay.
But it's safe to say I'm not his biggest fan.
Right.
However, I don't believe that we should judge people based on social media takes, and I don't believe in guilty until proven innocent. What do you think?
I don't really get the question, I'm not going to lie, because you can't stop people from having an opinion on it.
Yeah.
And people are going to make assumptions, they're going to say things. Where it goes wrong, I guess, is where that sort of trial by social media actually trickles then into the legal process, and people are prejudiced by, sort of their social media presence. But you can't stop people from having an opinion on his arrest.
I don't think it's an opinion. I think, Rebecca, I think it's the stance that we assume that they're guilty from the get-go. That's what I have an issue with.
I assume he's guilty on the basis of on the basis of what he has said about himself.
Right.
Broadly speaking, I am very against trial by Twitter, not least because I think it can prejudice a trial. And the last thing, if I were Andrew Tate's lawyer, I would be making the case that it was impossible for him to have a fair trial. That would be my main way of defending him.
That is a good point.
And my concern is, whatever the way people are talking, he might get off on technicality, and that would really annoy me, because I would love to see him. And very, very few people I would like to see that happen to, honestly. List is in the single figures, but he is a deeply unpleasant, loathsome little man, and I think he could do with some time to think about his actions.
I guess what I would agree with people on is that you know, perhaps there is a bit of an inconsistency here. You know, he gets arrested, yet, for example, people on Epstein's client list, they've not been arrested.
Yeah.
We still don't know who they are.
Yeah.
We still don't have their names. There are bigger criminals than Andrew Tate that have done way worse things that are currently at large and not held to account the same way he is, which then, you know, suggests that there does seem to be people that the establishment likes and the establishment doesn't like, and he just happens to be one of those people. Do I think that he is the hero that people think he is? No. Do I think he's simply playing a role in a bigger narrative as an internet character? Yes. I don't think people should be taken in by it, especially the right.
Yes.
A lot of people on the right look at him as this freedom fighter. I don't think he is. I don't think he can be trusted.
He's done nothing. He's not a freedom fighter. All he is an emblem of a crisis of masculinity.
Yeah.
Because there are no proper male role models occupying that space where you give advice and you act as a kind of pseudo-father figure for people who need someone to look up to without being utterly toxic.
Yeah.
And it's so sad. Women have traditionally had lots of female role models. There is much more of a sense of sisterhood and leading each other and learning from each other. And he is an example of what happens when you create a vacuum for that for men.
Yeah, I think it's idolatry, really, truly.
Yes, it is.
People are pitting it as a left versus a right issue, but actually, you know, especially the whole argument between Andrew Tate and Greta Thunberg. People on the left must support Greta, people on the right must support Andrew Tate.
It was quite funny, though.
Can people not see what it is? I refer to it as sort of like a programming exercise, you know.
Right.
They give you characters.
This is your player.
Yeah, this is your player. You must side with this player. You must want this player to win. When at the end of the day, I agree with what Rebecca said, actually. There is a crisis, and she might not agree with what I'm going to say next. But we've created this system where, you know, being gay or being trans or being a woman is looked at as almost a virtue by itself. And being a man and masculinity is being critiqued at every turn.
Masculinity is reviled.
And as a result, people are looking for, again, like I said, a sense of self, and they're looking for that in people like Andrew Tate, who promotes a brand of egotism, of narcissism. You don't fight ego with ego. And that is the issue, and that's why I am not a fan.
But also, I think there's two things. It's snake oil. If you tell people you can teach them how to be successful with women, that will always get you some kind of an audience. That goes back to the rules. But in the same token, we do have a society that reviles masculinity. Now, partially that is valid, because masculinity has done some really shady things. But the problem is, again, you create a vacuum. There's no discussion about positive masculinity, which exists. I see positive masculinity every time I try to take a pram up a set of steps. Every single time a man has stopped and said, "Can I help you with that?"
Yes.
That is somebody who is physically stronger than me doing something kind in their day. That's positive masculinity. It exists, but it's not celebrated, and it also often gets dressed up as being like a cuck or a soy boy, exactly. and that is really sad, because we're not celebrating the positives of being male.
And it's where the values come from that I take issue with. So when someone's saying that you are poor, you are unimportant, men do not fear you, your woman disagrees with you, your lives are shit. When people are saying that's, to me, that's not masculine. That's just crass. That's rude.
It's talking at
Whereas,
people.
You know, the Bible will say, "Blessed are the poor, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." I think it's about where your values come from, not just how masculine you are, but how much of a gentleman you are is more important, and what you base your values on. So success seems to be, you know, the whole, I have 33 cars, including a Bugatti. That's not something to shout home about.
But he's avaricious. He wants quantity in all things. As many women, as many cars, as much
empty,
money.
Isn't it? It's money. It's
that is
mammon
not a happy man.
Over love,
telling you.
family.
It's not, and that is a reflection of an emptiness he probably has within.
It's really sad.
And that is it's just dangerous that so many people think that having more things makes them more of a man. I always say that is the matrix. He talks about the matrix.
Yeah, that is it.
Attributing material things to your value, that is the matrix, Andrew. So.
Oh, well done.
I'm sorry.
On that, I think that's perfect to end it on. Let's have a look at some of your emails that you've been sending in. Liz says, "Happy New Year, our Calvin. Thank you for all you do. Wonderful first speech of good sense at the start of your programme. God bless." Oh, thank you for that. That's very kind, Liz. God bless you.
Aww.
Beth emails, these aren't all, you haven't given me all ones that's thanking me. Have you? This is embarrassing. Beth emails saying, "Calvin, thank you for mentioning that tradition is at risk. All traditional Catholics are wondering the same." That is something I do genuinely, I'm concerned about, because liberal progressive views are dangerous to everything, including the church.
Whereas I'm quite excited. I feel like it might be.
You would be happy if the church fell, though. That's...
No, I genuinely, I'm Catholic. I feel very strongly about Catholicism. I just think that Frankie's a better Better bet.
Frankie. Oh, even
I'm teasing.
I know, but it makes me cringe. Anne emailed to say the Russians are shelling Orthodox churches, which in theory belong to their own patriarch in Moscow. There are plenty of Orthodox priests in the Ukraine. They don't need heretics to come and proselytize.
What?
Oh.
Oof.
Any thoughts on that?
Isn't Zelensky closing churches down?
Yeah.
So,
I think God would understand if you skipped a Sunday if they're shelling.
yeah.
I think that'll be all right.
Okay.
I know, I don't really understand what that message.
No. I mean, I do find it troubling that he has shut down the Orthodox Church.
Yeah, under the guise of, Russia.
Yeah.
So we're
And
going
you
to...
can do anything if you say Russia.
Yeah, we're going to ban TV stations, we're going to close
Opposition
down...
parties.
Yeah, opposition parties, we're going to close down churches, sort of like what they're doing in communist China, because the Christian church is under attack in communist China as well. And I just think that, yes, they're in a war, I understand that, but using war as an excuse to sort of usher in authoritarianism has been the done thing in the past, so we should all be
They
aware
did
of
do
it.
it here in the Second World War, to be fair, so I think it basically it's fine if it's fine and it's not if it's not, and it's impossible to know which way it's going to go. I do sort of... From spending time with Calvin on Dan's show, I've absorbed some message that it's not great when one country is under siege to then write off everything negative it's ever done. And again, it's this thing, isn't it? Pick the good, pick the bad.
Yeah.
Russia bad, Ukraine good.
Yeah.
Therefore, nobody needs to investigate Ukraine's national culture or history or anything. And that's not... It's a bit sort of white saviour-y, even though they are white. It's a sort of, they're goodies and we're here to help
Idolatry,
them.
it's hero worship.
Yeah, but we're a very black and white society now.
But I think it's so important to say, what Dominic's opinion was just there was not pro-Putin. It's not pro-Russia.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just looking at the whole picture.
I get comments like that so much,
if you're not completely anti-Russia and completely pro-Ukraine, you must be pro-Russia.
Yeah, and that's not the case. I'm not.
But mostly this is
pro-anything.
just people living their lives who have no strong feeling about either of them.
That's very true.
That's what we should be doing. We should be praying for the individuals, the citizens in both Russia and Ukraine who are caught up in this political mess.
Exactly, and I have so much sympathy with them. They must be going through hell on either side, and it just shouldn't be happening.
I feel very, very sad for the Russian people.
Absolutely with you both. That was political commentator Dominic Samuels and writer Rebecca Reed. Thank you very much. We will be back after this. Here's the weather.
Looking ahead to today's weather, and the UK is looking cold, with rain and hill snow over Scotland, showers and bright spells elsewhere. Here are the details. It'll be a mild and rather cloudy start to New Year's Day across southwest England. There'll be some bright spells, but also some scattered, locally heavy, gusty showers. There'll be rather cloudy conditions across southeast England to start the new year. Some brighter spells are likely, with the odd shower too. Bright or sunny spells will edge in from the west, although still rather cloudy in the east, locally heavy, blustery showers in the west too. It'll be a rather cloudy and windy start to the new year across the Midlands. An isolated heavy shower is possible in the west, a mild day for all, with limited sunshine. Showery rain will continue to slowly clear from the north, drier further south, with some bright or sunny spells at times, mild for the time of year, but with a brisk southwesterly breeze. Patchy rain and hill snow will continue to gradually clear to the east, but it will remain mostly cloudy with hill fog linger in places, feeling chilly once again. It'll be a mostly cloudy day to start the new year across Northern Ireland. There will also be some patchy, mostly light rain at times, feeling chilly once again. Showers, wintry in the north with bright or sunny spells for most, further cloud and rain in the southeast. And that's your weather today on New Year's Day.
I'm Michael Portillo. Join me on GB News on a Sunday morning for topical discussion, debate, arts and culture, and sometimes even ethical dilemmas.
I don't always agree with you, Michael.
Michael Portillo, Sundays on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. for Gloria Meets. In exclusive interviews, I'll be finding out who our politicians really are and what they really think.
It's something that you would never want anyone to suffer.
I didn't know what channels there were. I didn't think I'd be believed.
I must have weighed about 7 stone and I'm 5'8".
My instincts was to sort of cover this up. I mean, clearly that was a mistake.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We are GB News, the People's Channel.
And right across the United Kingdom.
You can find us on Sky Channel 512.
Virgin Media Channel 604.
Freesat Channel 216.
Freeview channel 236.
And YouView channel 236.
You can also take us with you on DAB Plus Radio.
With the GB News app and at the website gbnews.uk.
We're absolutely everywhere.
Come join us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Monday to Thursday nights on GB News. At 6, it's Dubes & Co. 7 o'clock, Farage. At 8, join Mark Stein. And at 9, Dan Wootton Tonight, followed by Headliners. On TV, radio and online. This is GB News.
Here on GB News Live, we'll be keeping you in the picture, finding out what's happening across the country and finding out why it matters to you. We'll have the facts fast with our team of reporters and specialist correspondents. Wherever it's happening, we'll be there from 12 noon on TV, radio and online. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, I'm Michelle Dewberry and you can join me every weekday 6 till 7 on Dubes & Co. Me and my panel will get stuck right into the day's events and I can tell you, in fact, I can warn you, expect some robust debate, some strong opinions and perspectives from both sides of the fence. It's about you at home as well. I love to read out all of your comments, or at least as many as I can. So join me, Michelle Dewberry, Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on Dubes & Co.
We are GB News, the People's Channel.
Why not take us home with you by visiting the GB News shop at gbnews.store. You'll find all the official merchandise, a really good present actually for yourself, your friends or your family.
We ship across the UK mainland at no extra cost. GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Mark White. As GB News Home and Security Editor, I cover those key issues that are so important to you. Our authorities, our communities doing all they can to combat violent crime. With the public services under unbearable strain, why are we still failing to control our borders? Defence, the first priority of any government, has been continually hollowed out. Can we trust our politicians to protect the armed forces? Join me, Mark White, on GB News.
We are GB News, right across the nation. You can get us on television, on radio, on digital. We're absolutely everywhere.
Amazing! You see, amazing!
You remind me of me in the European Parliament. But here's the most important bit. We are not part of the mainstream establishment. We think and speak just like you do. We are the People's Channel.
Magnificent. That's really, really thoughtful.
Come and join us on GB News, the People's News Channel.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Hello, Happy New Year and welcome back. This is the Common Sense Crusade on your TV, radio and online. I am the Reverend Calvin Robinson. In this next hour, we'll be looking at the ban on transgender women in female triathlons and why boxing could follow suit. Why an Anglican church in Ukraine is looking for an English priest to work in a war zone. And what's today's energy price cap and what does it mean for you and your bills? But first, here's the news with Bethany Elsey.
Calvin, thank you. Good morning and Happy New Year. It's 1 minute past 11. I'm Bethany Elsey with your top stories from the GB Newsroom. Celebrations to mark the start of 2023 have taken place across the nation, including in central London, where a crowd of more than 100,000 gathered to watch the New Year fireworks display. London's mayor says the 12-minute display, which is the first since the start of the pandemic, is the biggest in Europe. The sold-out show featured a tribute to the late Queen Elizabeth, highlighted the Lioness's Euros win and showed solidarity with Ukraine. Despite the rain, there were similar scenes in Edinburgh as revellers packed the streets to enjoy the first full Hogmanay celebrations in 3 years. But it was a much quieter affair in Scarborough thanks to Thor, the Arctic walrus. The Yorkshire county cancelled its New Year fireworks display to avoid causing him any distress. He was spotted in the town's harbour, and it's thought to be the first ever one spotted in the county. He's since moved on, and experts say he was likely just taking a break before a long journey north. In his New Year message to Ukraine, President Volodymyr Zelensky says he hopes the war with Russia will end this year. He spoke as missiles rained down in and around the capital, Kyiv. Ukraine's armed forces says Russia has launched more than 31 missiles and 12 airstrikes at targets across the country overnight. Curfews ranging from 7 p.m. to midnight made celebrations for the start of the new year impossible in public spaces. President Zelensky vowed to continue his country's fight until victory.
Let this year be the year of return, the return of our people, warriors to their families, captives to their homes, return of our lands. The temporarily occupied ones will become free forever. Return to normal life, to happy moments without curfew, to earthly joys without air raids. Return of what was stolen from us, the childhood of our children, the peaceful age of our parents.
The Archbishop of Canterbury is urging the government to tackle what he calls the country's broken social care system. Justin Welby will use his New Year message to say care homes are struggling to cover energy bills and retain staff. He's called on everyone to rise to the challenge of repairing the present system. The government says social care was made a priority in last month's autumn budget, pledging £7.5 billion in support over the next 2 years. 2 men have been charged with the murder of a non-league footballer who was stabbed to death in Birmingham on Boxing Day. 23-year-old Cody Fisher was attacked at a nightclub in Digbeth. 21-year-old Cammy Carpenter and 22-year-old Remy Gordon will appear before magistrates on Monday. From today, more than 4,600 bus routes across England will have fares capped at £2 for a single trip. More than 130 operators outside of London have joined the scheme, which will last until the end of March. The cap is being paid for with a £60 million government fund. And more than 66,000 properties in Scotland are empty. That's according to council figures, with the vast majority being domestic. Data also shows that over 9,000 properties are unoccupied in Edinburgh alone. And Pope Francis is addressing worshippers at the Vatican this morning, the day after the death of his predecessor. Let's listen in.
Il linguaggio dell'amore che è prendersi cura. Cioè prendersi cura è un linguaggio nuovo che va contro questi linguaggi dell'egoismo. Questo è l'impegno.
Old languages. This is the commitment to take care of our lives. Every one of us needs to take care of our lives, take care of our time, of our souls, take care of creation and the environment we live in, and even more, to take care of our neighbor, of those whom the Lord has placed alongside us, as well as our brothers and sisters who are in need, and who call for our attention and our compassion. Looking at Our Lady with the child there, taking care of her child, let us learn how to take care of others, and even of ourselves, taking care of a healthy interior, our interior lives, and charity. Celebrating the World Day of Peace today, let us regain awareness of the responsibility that has been entrusted to us to construct the future in the face of the personal and social crises we are living. In the face of the tragedy of the war, we are called to confront the challenges of our world in a spirit of responsibility and compassion. And we can do this if we take care of each other, and if all of us together take care of our common home. Let us implore Mary Most Holy, the Mother of God, so that in this epoch polluted by diffidence and indifference, she might make us capable of being compassionate and providing care. Being compassionate and providing care, being capable of looking more closely and sympathetically at others whenever necessary.
Et concepit de Spiritus Sancto. Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum, benedicta tui mulieribus et benedictus fructus ventris tui, Iesus. Santa Maria, Mater Dei, ora pro nobis peccatoribus, nunc et in hora mortis nostre. Amen. Ecce ancilla Domini. Fiat mi secundum verbum tuum. Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum, benedicta tui mulieribus et benedictus fructus ventris tui, Iesus. Santa Maria, Mater Dei, ora pro nobis peccatoribus, nunc et in hora mortis nostre. Amen. Et verbum caro factum est, et habitavit in nobis. Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum, benedicta tui mulieribus et benedictus fructus ventris tui, Iesus. Santa Maria, Mater Dei, ora pro nobis peccatoribus.
That's Pope Francis making his New Year address to worshippers at the Vatican this morning, the day after the death of his predecessor. Pope Benedict XVI died within the Vatican City at the age of 95, and his funeral will be on the 5th of January. You're up to date on GB News. We'll bring you more news as it happens now. Let's get back to Calvin.
Hello and welcome to the Common Sense Crusade with me, the Reverend Calvin Robinson. Here's what's coming up this morning. The UK has welcomed in the new year with an interesting fireworks display in London that included a fitting tribute to the late Queen, along with a number of political propaganda pieces from climate change to LGBT. The trans athlete in women's sport debate continues as the British governing body for triathlon has moved to end the row today by launching its own transgender category for competitors. How do you feel about this? Let me know at gbviews@gbnews.uk. And the energy price cap rises today by a whopping 20%. Although most households are covered by the government's support scheme, some will see a small increase. And of course, you can join in our conversation and discussions today by emailing gbviews@gbnews or by tweeting at gbnews. There's all. Welcome back to the Common Sense Crusade on GB News, on TV, online and on your wireless. The trans athletes in women's sport debate continues to rage, but the British governing body for triathlon has moved to end the row today by launching its own transgender category for competitors. The British Triathlon Federation has effectively banned biological men from competing in women's categories. Instead, there will be a new open category for, quote, all individuals, including male, transgender, and those non-binary who are male sex at birth. It comes as the World Boxing Council also hinted it may follow suit this year by launching an open category for its own transgender fighters. Still with me now is political commentator Dominic Samuels and writer Rebecca Reed. Rebecca, are they conceding too much ground here? There are only two sexes, male and female, and sport has been divided by the sexes for very sensible reasons, because males are stronger, fitter, more athletic, faster than women in general.
I mean, I don't think they're fitter, but yes, stronger, certainly.
Right.
Yes, bigger, generally.
Yes.
Yes.
Like a man can punch 2.5 times stronger than a woman.
Yeah, and I think, broadly speaking, men hitting women is frowned upon. We regard that as a bad thing, and so...
Well, we used to, anyway.
I think most people still would say that, and I think...
But this open category surely undermines that.
Well, I think the open category is a great thing, because it means that if you want to compete... Yeah, no, it's a really good thing. It means that if you're a trans person who wants to do a sport that they love, you're still able to do that without being in a position where somebody who was assigned male at birth is punching a woman.
No. Let's not say somebody who was assigned male at birth. Someone who was born male.
I was assigned female at birth. I'm also a woman, but I
was assigned it. No one said, let's assign her female.
They did. They also assigned me a name. They also assigned me a hair colour.
That's very different.
They're true, but they also were assigned. That's a true thing that happened. But yeah, I think this is the perfect answer to this problem. Apart from the fact that like less than 0.5% of people in the UK are trans. And I don't know what percentage of that percentage also do triathlons, but that's got to be like 3 people.
Yeah.
So the issue is who they're going to compete against.
Are we seeing more trans people enter sport? But because they are, as men, they are average at their sport, and when they go over to women's sport, they're actually superior.
Yeah, to be honest, that is true. We saw that with the transgender swimmer Leah Thomas, who participated in sport professionally as a man, didn't do very well, rose to the top when they were swimming against women.
Let's not use their made-up pronouns.
I think it's polite to use the pronouns.
No, it's not polite to be a liar.
I would use the pronouns that anybody asked me to use. I think it's polite.
He hasn't asked you.
I've never met Leah Thomas.
I think you're being a little bit antagonistic there.
I'm sick and tired of all of this.
But what do you achieve by
concede,
refusing to use someone's pronouns that they
because I think we concede far too much ground and acknowledge that this person, who is a man, who is a male, a grown adult human male, is living his life as a woman. Fair play, live your life however you see fit. But then to say to the rest of us that we have to live in his delusion, I don't think that's fair. I'm done with it.
Do you use the name Leah?
I don't know his other name.
But would you use...
If I knew if it was Liam, I'd call him Liam. But
I think it's William.
People change their...
That's why I said that there, because I'm not really comfortable with using the term like she, because that's not a woman. Doesn't look like one. He essentially has just said that he is one. So, and I personally don't identify with that. I think that, yes, I agree that it is polite to use people's pronouns. Say, for example, when you've just met someone and they are transgender, I'm not a bad person, so I'm not going to be like, no, you're a man, and make everyone else feel uncomfortable. I think there's that. No. But at the same time, if I don't want to use those pronouns, I won't use them. And I don't think anyone should be punished for that.
And if you were with a group of people and there was a trans woman there, so a male person in that group, and you were heading to the toilet with your girlfriends, would you invite that trans woman along with you?
We don't really invite each other to the bathroom.
I've seen this.
It's not really
no,
what
come on, that is very much what happens.
No,
Girls say, come on, we're going to the loo.
No, I think I'd be like, I'm going to pee, does anybody else need to pee? Like, but usually I'm a grown-up, I go to the bathroom by myself.
OK.
Yeah, I'm not with that. You know, when you're out with a group of girls and they're like, let's go to the toilet together, like, for what reason? I'm dancing. Like, go away.
I've never understood why it happens, but I've seen it happen.
No, it's happened to me so many times, and after a bit, I was with this girl that just kept doing it. I was like, I'm busy. Like, just go to the toilet.
The reason I asked the question is because it can be considered polite to use someone's pronouns or whatever name they give themselves.
No, I understand.
That is stepping over the bar and saying, actually, I'm going to go along with your delusion.
I think, to be honest, it just depends on context in regards to the actual topic we're talking about, which is the open category.
Bring it back.
Yeah, you were sort of like, really, do you agree with that? But at the same time, these people, there is an agenda at the moment that says, you know, men can be women, women can be men. These people that do have gender dysphoria and feel they were born in the wrong body, they're not going anywhere anytime soon. I would rather they have their own category than be punching women in the head in a ring.
But Rebecca, is that not still going to happen? Because this trans open category will mean that men are punching women and women are going to get hurt.
But in that scenario, everybody competing has chosen that is the category they wish to compete in. Women have a place that they can compete in that's only for women. And I think it's two different things. With contact sports, that's a safety issue. With non-contact sports, it's a fairness issue. And it's very, very difficult because I really don't believe anybody is transitioning because they want to win at swimming. I don't think any man likes swimming enough.
Men are competitive and men love to win.
But against other men?
No, in general. I
just don't believe there is a man on this earth who loves swimming so much that he will take hormones and get boobs and have his penis strained.
It's not necessarily just that, you know, he wanted to win against women. It was that I think, an added benefit to that. You know, I can live out my fantasy and I can also
become a world
champion. Be better
well,
at
also,
sport,
I suppose, and I don't know, I'm not an expert, but if you transition and you feel good about that, and then also as part of that experience you do better in the sport that you love, that's a feedback loop that what you've done has made your life better, so may underpin the idea that transitioning has made you feel more yourself, when in reality it's made an aspect of your life easier which has made you happy.
So where I agree with Rebecca is on safety and fairness. They're very important. But for me, the third and also equally important issue, or maybe even more so, is truth. And I'm sick and tired of all the lies. We have to have truth, and the transcendentals at the forefront. Do you not agree?
No, I do agree that we have to have truth, but at the same time, I think with what we believe, we do have to concede sort of reality. The reality is that some things are out of our hands, this is out of our hands, and I would rather an open category. I mean, some people would even say this is too much, it's too far, because there's not enough people that are transgender, so why can't they participate in the men and women's categories? I would say that you have made a choice, you're not entitled to women's spaces, so therefore compete in an open category. It is a difficult
but also,
one.
On that one, it's not just about spaces, because testosterone is rightly banned from sport because it's a performance-enhancing hormone. Therefore, trans people how are taking these hormones, so they're going to have that boost.
But it is difficult because different adult women have different testosterone levels, and so it's what you don't want is a situation where women who have higher natural testosterone are being told they can't compete. It's a really but
it's not just about the testosterone though. It's also
muscle density and lung capacity.
Yeah, muscles, the size of your heart, the size of your lungs. You've got men have more red blood cells, which just mean they're just naturally better at sport. And I think some people that pretend that there are no differences between men and women, especially with the sport. They say, oh, no, it's just about testosterone. There are women with high testosterone levels. It's not just about that. Men and women are skeletally, just fundamentally different.
It will be really interesting in 15 years' time when people who have been on gender reassignment treatments from childhood reach adult sports age. It'll be interesting to see how that changes the conversation, because a lot of those advantages will be lost. Unfortunately, there will also be people whose bodies are damaged by having done that.
And I think to wrap up, a lot of this comes from a false understanding of equality. I think people have been saying for so long now that men and women are exactly the same, and we know there are differences between men and women, and they're good and bad differences. That's the way the world works.
Yeah, I don't think feminism believes that. I think feminism has always acknowledged the difference.
For far too long. But plenty more to come this morning on my Common Sense Crusade. Next, we'll be discussing New Year's habits. Will you be sticking to your New Year's resolutions? That is coming up right after the weather.
Looking ahead to today's weather, and the UK is looking cold, with rain and hill snow over Scotland, showers and bright spells elsewhere. Here are the details. It'll be a mild and rather cloudy start to New Year's Day across southwest England. There'll be some bright spells, but also some scattered, locally heavy, gusty showers. There'll be rather cloudy conditions across southeast England to start the new year. Some brighter spells are likely, with the odd shower too. Bright or sunny spells will edge in from the west, although still rather cloudy in the east, locally heavy, blustery showers in the west too. It'll be a rather cloudy and windy start to the new year across the Midlands. An isolated heavy shower is possible in the west, a mild day for all with limited sunshine. Showery rain will continue to slowly clear from the north, drier further south, with some bright or sunny spells at times, mild for the time of year, but with a brisk southwesterly breeze. Patchy rain and hill snow will continue to gradually clear to the east, but it will remain mostly cloudy with hill fog linger in places, feeling chilly once again. It'll be a mostly cloudy day to start the new year across Northern Ireland. There will also be some patchy, mostly light rain at times, feeling chilly once again. Showers wintry in the north with bright or sunny spells for most, further cloud and rain in the southeast. And that's your weather today on New Year's Day.
I'm Camilla Tominey. Join me on GB News on Sunday mornings for a politics show with personality on TV, radio and online. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Mark Dolan. Join me at 11 on GB News for Headliners, in which I'll be joined by two of the UK's top comedians discussing tomorrow's papers. If it's an important story, we'll cover it, but we'll have some fun along the way. Headliners, the late night paper review that won't send you to sleep like the others will. 7 nights a week at 11 p.m. on GB News.
Monday to Thursday nights on GB News. At 6, it's Deebs & Co. 7 o'clock, Farage. At 8, join Mark Stein. And at 9, Dan Wootton Tonight, followed by Headliners. On TV, radio and online. This is GB News.
Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Join me, Dan Wootton. I'll bring you the sharpest takes and hottest debates.
Do you not believe in prisons?
I don't believe in prisons.
I'm completely stunned.
I guarantee you there'll be no spin, no bias, no censorship.
I actually was personally quite offended by it.
And no reason to go to bed.
So I guess they've always been quite woke.
That's Dan Wootton tonight on TV, radio and online. Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Lawrence Fox, on GB News. Frank, fun, fearless, and sometimes serious. Much as I love a Friday night punch-up, what I really want is a battle of ideas. I want to look at things differently. I want to hear different voices and engage with your unique experiences. Every Friday at 7 p.m. on GB News.
Hello, I'm Esther McVeigh.
And I'm Philip Davis.
Whether you're watching or listening on TV, online or on radio, we handpick the latest stories, debates and expert opinions for your weekend. So whether that's politics, news or showbiz, we've got it covered.
Join us every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock on GB News.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. for Gloria Meets. In exclusive interviews, I'll be finding out who our politicians really are and what they really think.
It's something that you would never want anyone to suffer.
I didn't know what channels there were. I didn't think I'd be believed.
I must have weighed about 7 stone and I'm 5'8".
My instincts was to sort of cover this up. I mean, clearly that was a mistake.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello there, it's Eamon Holmes here from Breakfast on GB News. We're not just on your television and your screens, you know.
We're on DAB plus digital radio, so you can listen to your favourite shows on the move.
If you've not yet listened to GB News Radio, it's very simple. We're on your radio player and TuneIn apps, on your smart speaker, phone or tablet, or online at gbnews.uk.
Take us with you wherever you go. GB News Radio.
You never have to miss a moment of the People's Channel.
Welcome back to the Common Sense Crusade with me, the Reverend Calvin Robinson. New Year is a time for goal setting and resolutions, but only around a quarter of us will end up sticking to them, according to the latest research, that is. Getting fit and shedding the pounds is one of the most popular commitments made by Brits. So how can you ensure that that expensive gym membership does not go to waste? Here now with tips and tricks to keep track with your New Year's resolutions is personal trainer Daniel James. Daniel, thank you so much for joining us today on New Year's Day. Why do people fall off the wagon? Why do they not stick to their resolutions?
Thank you very much for having me, and Happy New Year to everyone listening as well. I think the biggest thing is that people are very, very unrealistic about what to actually expect. So for me, people go off and they try and do too much too soon. So let's say you're trying to go to the gym. You've not been to the gym for over a year, and you set yourself a target of, I'm going to go to the gym 7 days a week. It's completely unrealistic. And at the first hurdle where something happens and you can't go to the gym, you feel like a failure and then just think, oh, that's it, and you stop. So for me, I think the first thing to do is just recognize what can you realistically actually do. So if you look at your diary and your schedule and you look and you think, I can realistically commit to 2 days a week, that's enough. Because there's other things you can do apart from going to the gym that's going to help you achieve your health and fitness goal for 2023. But the main thing is don't set your expectations far too high because you set yourself up for failure.
Okay, fair enough. And the gym is obviously one of the popular New Year's resolutions. I personally cannot get into that mentality. You know, I've got people in my family who are Mr. Olympia, all kinds of bodybuilders and stuff. I just can't enjoy the gym. I find it dull. How can you trick yourself into enjoying it?
Well, I don't necessarily say you have to trick yourself into enjoying it because, again, if you're trying to force yourself to do something you don't enjoy, you're not going to do it. So straight away, if you're getting nervous, anxious, all these things about going into the gym, you're just simply not going to do it because who wants to do anything they don't want to do? Let's say Brussels sprouts. If I say you've got to eat a plate of Brussels sprouts and you hate them, you're not going to do it. So for me, it's then a case of looking at it and being like, right, do you enjoy swimming? Cool, go for a swim. Do you enjoy walking? Go for a walk. Do you enjoy dancing? Go to Zumba. Do you enjoy cycling? Go outside and cycle or go to a spin class. You don't have to sit there in a gym, making yourself feel anxious and uncomfortable, trying to get results. So it's looking at what do you enjoy doing? Because exercise comes in all different forms. It doesn't just have to be sitting in a gym lifting weights.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I heard from a psychologist yesterday that it helps if you make your New Year's resolutions public as well, if you let other people know about them, so that they can hold you to account. Do you believe in a bit of fat shaming around the New Year time?
I don't like the word fat shaming at all. I think it's a terrible word. No one should be fat shaming because, let's say, fat loss is the goal. So people have a lot of fat to lose. They know they've got a lot of fat to lose. They don't need to be fat shamed. So for me, if you work to set your goals so people can hold you accountable, perfect. I personally don't like to do that. I like to keep my goals private and like to work in silence. So for me, it's working on yourself because you don't want to be fat shaming yourself. That's a horrible thing to do anyway, because that's also why people fail. They've got really low self-esteem. They don't like themselves. So if you're then going to be fat shaming them as well, that's going to add to the problem. So you've got to start this new year from a place of love and compassion. Accept where you are. If you don't like it, that's absolutely fine. You can't undo the past, but all you can do is work on right now to become that better version of you. And holding that negative self-image or that negative self-talk going into 2023 is going to set you up for failure. So don't fat shame yourself. Don't allow your friends to fat shame you. Don't allow strangers to fat shame you. Again, it's just not it's a horrible thing. That's a whole different topic. I could talk about that all day.
All right, thank you very much. Then fitness expert Daniel James. Cheers. I'm not sure I entirely agree. I think there's nothing wrong with a little bit of fat shaming. It helps keep people on track.
Of course.
Otherwise, people get far too comfortable. Let's have a little look at some of the emails that you guys have been sending in. Jules emailed to say people are free to do what they want, and if that is to buy a hyped up hydration drink, then that is their right. Of course it's their right. Absolutely it's their right to buy whatever they want and spend their money however they see fit. But don't be influenced over the top by influencers online and buying things that you don't want or need. Dolly emailed to say, I agree with you, it's mass formation psychosis. These are the same weak-minded people who panic buy toilet rolls and fuel. Yeah, I mean, I don't like the idea of calling people weak-minded, but surely the idea is looking inwards and thinking, am I being influenced? Am I being brainwashed? Am I a sheep or an NPC? And if so, how do I break free from this rubbish? That's what the issue is. A lot of us will be waking up a little worse for wear this morning as New Year's parties went late into the night. We've just had an insight into the gym, but what about those who had a heavy night last night? Joining us now is our GB News Southwest reporter, Jeff Moody, who reckons a greasy fry-up could be the remedy.
Hello to you, Calvin. First of all, I'd like to apologise profusely for calling you the wrong name earlier on. In my ear, your voice sounds very much like Michael Portillo, so I'm really sorry. I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but you do sound a little bit like Michael Portillo, so apologies for that. Maybe I've just got a hangover. This is actually the third fry-up that I've been dealing with this morning. When I first arrived for this gig this morning, I thought, this is great, eating a fry-up on camera, lovely. After the third one, not so much. Apparently, a fry-up is not the thing you should go for a hangover. There's plenty of people here tucking into a fry-up this morning, thinking it's going to help, but apparently a fry-up, coffee, doesn't help whatsoever, nor, I'm sad to say, does hair of the dog. I would have liked a Bloody Mary, but unfortunately, because of licensing hours, it's just a tomato juice, but apparently that doesn't help either. What the experts say, we love an expert, don't we? What the experts say is, ditch the coffee, ditch the full-fat Coke, have water instead. I'm not quite sure they will hit the spot. And ditch the fry-up and instead have a big plate of pasta. That's what you need for a hangover, pasta. But there is one other cure, and maybe I got your name wrong because I've had 2 of these already this morning. But the old wives' tale cure that does work, according to the experts, is a raw egg. What you need to do is take the raw egg, take a glass of orange juice, crack the raw egg into the orange juice like that, give it a little stir, just so you can taste it, and drink that. And that, apparently, according to the experts, is the best cure for a hangover. Let's see whether it works. Let's ask these people here. Hello, everyone. Does anybody fancy a raw egg? Anyone fancy a raw egg for their hangovers? No? It's the best cure for a hangover, apparently.
Egg white in it, was it, Meg, in that film?
Oh, I'm not supposed to have any egg white in it.
You mustn't put egg white, a drop of egg white goes
Oh.
ruins it, apparently.
Oh, well, I can't take the egg white out now, so I'll just have to say Happy New Year and hope this works, Calvin.
Thank you very much, Jeff Moody. I can't believe you're drinking one of those again. I am still in the studio with Dominic Samuels and Rebecca Reed, and we had an email in that's from Anthony that said, Have a cheese-based snack before and after drinking, and you wake up with no hangover. The fat covers your cells. I learned that on my first year biology degree. That sounds like a good solution to me.
That sounds lovely. I am willing to try eating a cheese-based snack for science.
Before and after drinking.
Yeah, because I'm a very brave woman.
Do it for us and let us know how that works out.
For the team.
Nick says the best way to cure a hangover is not to drink so much in the first place, be more grown up. Boo!
Nick, stop being so lame.
It's New Year's,
Nick's
Nick.
a loser.
That's a bit rude.
Sorry, loser.
Nick, you can tweet Rebecca
Nick.
Reid on Twitter at
RCN Reid. Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you very much. Keep your cures coming in. You are with GB News on TV, radio and online. Then after the break, I'll be joined by Father Mark North of St Thomas of Canterbury Church. Now it's time for a check on those news headlines with Bethany Elsey.
Calvin, thank you. Good morning. It's 11:31. I'm Bethany Elsey in the GB newsroom. The UK has ushered in 2023 with celebrations taking place across the nation and a crowd of more than 100,000 gathering in central London to watch the New Year firework display. London's mayor says the 12-minute display, which is the first since the start of the pandemic, is the biggest in Europe. The sold-out show featured a tribute to late Queen Elizabeth, highlighted the Lioness's Euros win and sent a message of support for Ukraine. Despite the rain, there were similar scenes in Edinburgh as revellers packed the streets to enjoy their first full Hogmanay celebrations in 3 years. Pope Francis has paid his respects to his predecessor whilst addressing worshippers at the Vatican this morning. Pope Benedict XVI died within the Vatican City at the age of 95. Tomorrow morning, his body will be brought to St. Peter's Basilica, where people will be able to pay their respects. He will lie in state there for 3 days until his funeral on the 5th of January. Pope Francis told worshippers to keep the former pontiff in their prayers.
Cari fratelli, sorelle. Buongiorno e buon anno.
Dear brothers and sisters, good day and Happy New Year. The beginning of the new year is entrusted to Mary Most Holy, whom we celebrate today as Mother of God. At this time, let us invoke her intercession, especially for Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI, who left this world yesterday morning. Let us all join together with one heart and one soul in thanking God for the gift of this faithful servant of the gospel and of the Church.
The Archbishop of Canterbury is urging the government to tackle what he calls the country's broken social care system. Justin Welby will use his New Year message to say care homes are struggling to cover energy bills and retain staff. He's called on everyone to rise to the challenge of repairing the system. The government says social care was made a priority in last month's autumn budget, pledging £7.5 billion in support over the next 2 years. From today, more than 4,600 bus routes across England will have fares capped at £2 for a single trip. More than 130 operators outside of London have joined the scheme, which will last until the end of March. The cap is being paid for by a £60 million government fund. We're on TV, online and DAB+ radio. This is GB News. Don't go anywhere. Calvin will be back in just a moment.
Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Join me, Dan Wootton. I'll bring you the sharpest takes and hottest debates.
Do you not believe in prison?
I don't believe in prisons.
I'm completely stunned.
I guarantee you there'll be no spin, no bias, no censorship.
I actually was personally quite offended by it.
And no reason to go to bed.
So I guess they've always been quite woke.
That's Dan Wootton tonight on TV, radio and online. Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
And the national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. for Gloria Meets. In exclusive interviews, I'll be finding out who our politicians really are and what they really think.
It's something that you would never want anyone to suffer.
I didn't know what channels there were. B, I didn't think I'd be believed.
I must have weighed about 7 stone and I'm 5'8".
My instincts was to sort of cover this up. I mean, clearly that was a mistake.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Hello there, it's Eamon Holmes here from Breakfast on GB News. We're not just on your television and your screens, you know.
We're on DAB plus digital radio, so you can listen to your favourite shows on the move.
If you've not yet listened to GB News Radio, it's very simple. We're on your radio player and TuneIn apps, on your smart speaker, phone or tablet, or online at gbnews.uk.
Take us with you wherever you go. GB News Radio.
You never have to miss a moment of the People's Channel.
My name's Tom Harwood and join me 9:30 a.m. every weekday for The Briefing, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about what's going on in politics today.
I wonder if this is a deal that might need to be like the biscuits in this factory, twice baked.
Is there not an opportunity here to win out against the extremes?
Tom Harwood, GB News.
What are you going to do about it?
Things should have been done differently, and they certainly are being done differently.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, 9:30 Monday to Friday on GB News.
Hello, I'm Simon Evans. Join me on GB News for Headliners at 11 p.m, where I'll be joined by two of the country's top comedians as we take a look at tomorrow's newspapers tonight. If it's a big story, we'll be covering it, I guarantee, but we'll also have some fun along the way. That's GB News Headliners at 11 p.m. We won't put you to sleep, unlike some of the other paper review shows out there. So join us, 11 p.m, 7 nights a week.
On the octave day, or the 8th day of Christmas, we honour the solemnity of Mary, the Holy Mother of God. 8 days after his birth, the Blessed Virgin Mary had Christ circumcised in accordance with the Moses law. And when 8 days were accomplished for the circumcising of the child, his name was called Jesus, which was so named of the angel before he was conceived in the womb. The entire month of January is dedicated to the holy name of Jesus, through whom we receive every grace and blessing. Happy New Year. Now joining me is Father Mark North of St Thomas of Canterbury Church. Thank you for joining me today, Father, especially on a Sunday.
Hello, Calvin. Good to be with you.
Happy Christmas. A story from the Times yesterday told how an Anglican church in the Ukraine is seeking a quote, courageous C of E priest to help rebuild the congregation amid the war. The church is just yards from a military checkpoint and the presidential quarter, which has been the target of many Russian attacks, apparently. Is this a job you would take?
I don't think it's a job my wife would let me take, to be honest. I think she would be a little bit worried that, it may be a little bit risky for her. But I thought it was a fascinating story, actually. I thought it was great to see the church talking about things that are outside of our every comfort, out of our comfort zone. But also, I think there's a very important message that underpins that, and that is that faith is there for us, every day. It's for every minute, every hour of every day. It's not something that we just pick up and then put down when it suits us. So for the people in Ukraine, in Kyiv, then faith is something that they need in their lives every day. They have in their lives every day, and therefore that faith needs to be nurtured and grown through the ministry of somebody who's willing to go out there and to take that role. And I just thought it was a really important sort of underlying message that came out of that story. It's faith is something that we live with all the time, and not something we just put down and take up at moments, either in the week or in our lives.
And Father, today in the old calendar was the celebration of the circumcision of Christ, and many people on social media have been commentating today saying that's very grim, that's very gross. Why are you celebrating the brutalation of a young child? Can you please explain to viewers what the circumcision of Christ is and why that's an important mark in the calendar?
Yeah, so I mean it's a good reminder, of course, that Jesus was a Jew, brought up and nurtured in a family of devout Jews. His mother Mary, obviously Joseph, her spouse, And it is a reminder to us that Christianity emerges from that relationship that God had with his chosen people, a relationship that began with Abraham, our father in faith. And as the mark of Abraham's covenant, his engagement with that covenant with God, he was circumcised. And every Jewish male from that time on has been circumcised as a sign of their entering into that covenant, that relationship with God. And if we take Jesus out of that Jewish history, out of that Jewish background, then his role as Saviour, his role as the Christ, the Messiah, is taken away from us, because he has to emerge from that tradition, that understanding of a need for a sacrificial offering for sin, and therefore, that takes Jesus through his ministry to the cross, to the resurrection on Easter Sunday morning.
Absolutely. And of course, in the new calendar, it's the solemnity of Mary, the Holy Mother of God, who in her fiat showed us how to have faith in God. Why is that important? Why is Mary important?
Because in her title as Mother of God, she makes sense of the birth of Jesus. I mean, every birth of a child is a moment of celebration and rejoicing. But the birth of Jesus was not just any child. This was God entering into his creation. The baby Jesus is both baby boy and the Word of God made flesh. He is both fragile and weak and small, but also the creator of the world. And that is just, we are reminded of that when we celebrate Mary as Mother of God. But I think the other thing that's lovely about this feast today, of course, is that you were talking a little while ago about making resolutions for the new year. And Mary always points us to Jesus. We celebrate her today, not for her glory, but to be reminded of Jesus as being, God and man. And when we think about how we're going to live out this next year, maybe that's a really good resolution for us to take, that actually, instead of worrying about earthly things, let's be the people who point to Jesus as Mary points to him all the time.
Absolutely. Father Mark North, thank you very much for joining us on a Sunday and on New Year's Day. God bless. I'm still joined in the studio by political commentator Dominic Samuels and writer Rebecca Reed. Thoughts on the church in Ukraine recruiting a C of E priest in the middle of a war?
I mean, I would argue that you never need faith more than in a war situation. Mm-hmm. And there is a grand tradition of people from the Church of England and from the Catholic Church going into dangerous places to try and bring the word of God. So I don't, and I think there's something sort of pleasingly vintage about it. It feels like a return to the time of missionaries without all of the incredibly negative aspects of being a missionary.
It's got a crusade. I like it. Dominic?
Really, there shouldn't be anything bad that I have to say about it. However,
here we go.
It just feels like, again, this sort of politicisation, I feel like, of the Church of England and faith by sort of, asking for a C of E priest. I don't know, it just feels like...
But it is a political...
another piece of propaganda. That's sort of what it feels like.
I think Calvin and I have talked about this a bit before, because I find it uncomfortable when people suggest that the C of E shouldn't be political, because it's an inherently... The church is political, it always has been. And I know that you don't like the political direction necessarily that it's taken, but I think it does feel right and natural that it should be political.
Yeah, my point is always it shouldn't be party political. It shouldn't be denouncing conservative government policy. It should be political in the way that it's showing you how to live a good life, rooted in Christ.
I suppose, but if the Conservative are the party in power, then their decisions impact people's lives, therefore commentary feels natural. And when Labour is in power, they should do the same thing.
There's a point to be made there, but I
just think it's inappropriate.
But the problem is when they are quick to denounce, say, for example, the Rwanda policy, but they're not quick to talk about the issue of abortion, or the lady that was arrested for praying silently in her head the other day, last week or the week before. None of the bishops speak out against that. So they pick and choose political issues, but don't speak on issues of faith.
I agree with that. So when the political issues revolve around faith, of course, speak up, but again, it just feels like it's contributing to more of the noise and more of the decline of our society, which I'm not entirely sure is by accident.
We had an email from John who says something similar. He said, I was a Catholic, I'm still a Christian, but I can't condone a pope who promotes diversity and LGBT alphabet people, yet won't mention the genocide of Nigerian Christians. The real pope died yesterday. I think a lot of people share John's thoughts in that you have to stand up for the faith at all times. You can't pick and choose the nice ones that align with your politics. Otherwise, what's the point? Now, let's talk about something more fun. The energy price cap has been officially hiked today from £3,549 per year for an average household to £4,279. Joining me now to explain how this might affect your gas and electricity bills is the CEO of the Energy and Utilities Alliance, Mike Foster. Mike, not Mark. Mike, what does this mean in layman's terms for everyday bill payers?
Good morning, Calvin, and Happy New Year. Firstly, thankfully, it doesn't impact at all at the moment on energy consumers. That is because the government have put in place what's called the energy price guarantee, and that guarantees the price up until March of this year of an average bill of £2,500 rather than the £4,279 that Ofgem have calculated would be used if there was no government scheme and it was only the Ofgem protection that was available. So you can see the impact of the government guarantee compared to the regulators' scheme. Now, that's great news for consumers. The other thing I think is important that all your viewers are aware of is that this isn't a cap on your total bill. This is a cap on the unit price of your gas and of your electricity. So if you use more energy than the average consumer, then your bill will be higher than that £2,500 that the government have guaranteed. That guarantee only applies to the average consumption because it is based on this unit price. So the less energy you use, you can, bring your bill lower than £2,500. There are consequences of doing that, and everybody has to be very careful, particularly the experience of that cold period we had just before Christmas. But the Ofgem price cap, the one that they, in theory, have running from today, thankfully, has no impact upon us as consumers at this moment in time.
Thank you for that very sound analysis. Mike Foster, CEO of the Energy and Utilities Alliance, and happy Christmas to you too. One cap you'll be happy to hear about is a new bus fare pledge from the Department for Transport. Millions of Brits can snap up £2 fares across 4,600 routes in a scheme that runs until March. More than 130 bus operators outside of London will charge no more than a couple of quid, and it all kicks off today. I'm joined by political commentator Dominic Samuels and writer Rebecca Reid. Price caps, is it going to affect you guys?
Yeah.
Can you talk about your...
Oh, right. Oh, gosh. I was wondering if anyone can actually help me with this because I have a pay-as-you-go meter.
I do too. That
really?
You're the first person I've met.
Start with.
Well, no, it's not by choice. It's that they won't put a smart meter. They don't have any smart meters to install, so you get stuck with.
So mine is a pay-as-you-go meter, and I don't know whether or not it's broken, but my whole apartment is off electricity, not gas. Right. And I put £99, that's the limit for British Gas, on my meter, and I kid you not, it lasted 6 days.
No, that's wrong, I think.
6 days. I called them and, said, is anything going on here? And they were saying that nothing looks untoward. But I'm going to call them and ask them again because there's no way.
Is this you've got your LEDs for your streaming, you've got all your setup and everything?
To be honest, I do use a lot of electricity.
Then it might not be wrong.
And also, I'm used to just having all the radiators on. I'm not one of those people that, turn off a light each time I leave a room. It feels really, OCD. But I think that's because it wasn't my money I was spending.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think I'm definitely going to have to budget.
You've recently just got your own place.
Also, this is very specific, but you know that you're entitled to a £60-something voucher every 3 months from the government if you're on a top-up one.
Really?
So I bought a house recently. It's like a 1950s ex-council house. It's got a meter. They all do in the area. Also, the way people treat you when you go in to top up, they act like you're like scum.
Yeah.
It's like, I had a pony growing up, okay? I went to boarding school. I am as middle class as they come.
Upper middle class.
Upper middle class, thank you very much. Don't look at me like I am some, sort of like Untermenschen because I'm using a meter. Not strictly relevant, but yes, if you are on a meter, it's important to know that the government are putting the equivalent of a cap on for you, and you should be getting sent a voucher every 2 months.
I did not know
so you need to talk to British Gas, and they will make sure that you, and
We need
they'll
to have a
backdate it for you as well.
We need to have a
And
conversation.
anybody watching, if you've missed your voucher, it's free money. Go get it.
And tell me if nearly £100 in 6 days is normal, because
I'm worried it's because you're using a lot.
No, I'm one person and it's an apartment. It's not like I've got like 3 floors or something. Like, it's bizarre. I don't know, really bizarre.
Well, let's have a look at a couple more emails from you guys. Thank you for sending these in. Simon said, 2 sexes, male born with a penis, female born with a womb. All this trans non-binary is woke madness gone overboard. Nice and simple, Simon. I'm with you on that.
But that's not technically true, to be fair. There are women who are born without wombs.
So just
Yes, but just because there are exceptions to a rule does not make the rule.
Yeah, and intersex people also exist.
They do, and again, it's a tiny minority.
Yeah, but they are real.
Yes.
Why do people do that, though? Because most people aren't intersex.
I suppose, I just feel like if you are intersex, it must be really horrid to hear people constantly saying there are only 2 sexes, to be like, hi, I'm here.
But there are very few definitions where you won't have exceptions.
Yeah, and that's an anomaly.
Yeah.
Not to be mean, but that's just what it is.
It's a medical condition.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that. I'm not one of those people who's like, there's a kind of fish that can change sex, so sex isn't real. I'm not one of those.
Okay,
but
let's break it down. What is a woman?
I would say, broadly speaking, a woman is somebody who is born with one of the secondary...
Even the pause, and it's so simple.
What is a woman?
An adult human female.
Okay, I'll give you that. Adult human female. I think it's just difficult. It really bothers me when people say it's about having a womb, because lots of women have hysterectomies, for instance, and you're not a woman if you have a hysterectomy, and that's a real thing that women experience.
Yeah,
it's
I did think it was odd. There was penis and then there was womb.
Yeah.
And you could have just said vagina.
Unpack that for us.
Okay, and Dean emailed on a similar topic. Just a point. Your guest has just said that transgender women who find they are winning at sport against women, that they could never succeed as a man. Now, can you now feel good about them yourselves? But what about biological women who will now feel deflated because they will never be able to compete and win against men?
Oh.
Why are their feelings ignored, as they will not be able to feel good about winning themselves just for the sake of pampering a minority? I think that one's to you, Dominique.
So, sorry.
I think it's that I was saying
that
when you transition and then you start winning in sport, it must underpin the idea that transitioning was a good thing.
Okay.
But I'm not condoning that. And I feel very strongly that in America, where scholarship culture is how people get into university, that's a very real issue.
It always comes back to trans issues, doesn't it? I'd like to end the show on something positive. Let's say a prayer. The solemnity of Mary, the Holy Mother of God. O God, who by the fruitful virginity of Blessed Virgin Mary has bestowed upon mankind the reward of eternal salvation, grant, we beseech thee, that we may know the help of her intercession, through whom we have been accounted worthy to receive the author of our life, Jesus Christ, thy Son, our Lord, who liveth and reigneth with thee in the unity of the Holy Spirit, ever one God, world without end. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
And a special message of happy birthday to Anna Robinson, my sister. It's her birthday today on New Year's Day. This is my present, so don't expect anything else. You have been watching Calvin's Common Sense Crusade with me, the Reverend Calvin Robinson. I'll be back with you next Sunday at the new time of 3 p.m. Tonya Buxton is up next. I'd like to also thank Rebecca Reed and Dominic Samuels for being with me for the entire 2 hours on New Year's Day. And of course, Margot, my daughter, is out there.
I'd like to thank the production team for babysitting my baby so I can be here.
Thank you guys at home for watching. Good night. Oh, good afternoon and God bless.
Looking ahead to today's weather, and the UK is looking cold with rain and hill snow over Scotland, showers and bright spells elsewhere. Here are the details. It'll be a mild and rather cloudy start to New Year's Day across southwest England. There'll be some bright spells, but also some scattered, locally heavy, gusty showers. There'll be rather cloudy conditions across southeast England to start the new year. Some brighter spells are likely, with the odd shower too. Bright or sunny spells will edge in from the west, although still rather cloudy in the east, locally heavy, blustery showers in the west too. It'll be a rather cloudy and windy start to the new year across the Midlands. An isolated heavy shower is possible in the west, a mild day for all with limited sunshine. Showery rain will continue to slowly clear from the north, drier further south, with some bright or sunny spells at times, mild for the time of year, but with a brisk southwesterly breeze. Patchy rain and hill snow will continue to gradually clear to the east, but it will remain mostly cloudy with hill fog lingering in places, feeling chilly once again. It'll be a mostly cloudy day to start the new year across Northern Ireland. There will also be some patchy, mostly light rain at times, feeling chilly once again. Showers, wintry in the north with bright or sunny spells for most, further cloud and rain in the southeast. And that's your weather today on New Year's Day.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. for Gloria Meets. In exclusive interviews, I'll be finding out who our politicians really are and what they really think.
It's something that you would never want anyone to suffer.
I didn't know what channels there were. I didn't think I'd be believed.
I must have weighed about 7 stone and I'm 5'8".
My instincts was to sort of cover this up. I mean, clearly that was a mistake.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
We are GB News, the People's Channel.
And right across the United Kingdom.
You can find us on Sky Channel 512.
Virgin Media Channel 604.
Freesat Channel 216.
Freeview Channel 236.
And YouView Channel 236.
You can also take us with you on DAB+ radio.
With the GB News app and at the website gbnews.uk.
We're absolutely everywhere.
Come join us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We are GB News, and we'd like to say thank you to each and every one of you for bringing us your conversations, for helping our great nation